And next up, we have congratulations. So we have Liz Hemingway, who is Senior Vice President of Operations and Marketing and Client Success at Travelers Marketing. That is a title, ma'am. You you do so much there, but this is really cool. So you have this Community Voices for Road Safety, which is such a powerful name. And congratulations on winning a TMSA Purpose Award. And this is a cool name, cool initiative. What inspired Travelers Marketing to take this community first approach to public safety? And maybe just give people who didn't read the submission, now that I'm thinking about it, what this program is all about.
Sure. Well, thank you first for the recognition. It's an honor to be amongst this group and to be here today. We're really excited about it. Our partners, I believe, are also on the line watching. We worked with Massachusetts Department of Transportation, who shared our vision to make this program happen and really made it possible for us to pilot Community Voices for Road Safety. So the program, it's all about going into the community to work with the community to promote a road safety message. Basically, what inspired us is over 25 years, Travelers Marketing has been working with departments of transportation and toll road authorities to enhance and raise awareness about road safety challenges. This program became unique because we realized that traditional road safety messaging wasn't reaching an audience that some communities, it wasn't moving the needle in certain communities. And so we wanted to take a different approach and see if we could get into those communities, speak with the people and the leaders and residents in those communities to better understand what it was that motivated them. In the case of our pilot program, it was in Brockton, Massachusetts, which is a melting pot of a community, and they had a very low seatbelt use rate. So data had shown year after year with state seatbelt surveys that Brockton was particularly underperforming. The national average is about 92% for seatbelt use. In Massachusetts, it's about 78%. And in Brockton, Massachusetts, it was 42%. So there was a need to really get in there and save lives, right? We know seatbelts save lives. And so we wanted to change behavior to ensure that more people were wearing their seatbelt and do so in a way that would speak and resonate with the community.
The data is incredible with this submission as a whole. Really spoke volumes when I was reading it. And the campaign in Brockton, it ended up leading to a 30-point increase in seatbelt use, which is just wonderful within 5 months of you launching it initially. So it's really incredible outcomes. Could you tell us what you think made this campaign effective? What led to that 30-point increase?
It's tremendous. We were really, really pleased with the results, of course. And I think what made the big difference is that this was a campaign that was made by Brockton. It was made from Brockton. It wasn't just delivered to Brockton. And I think that, it's a nuance, but I think it's an important nuance. We didn't go into the community with a solution. We actually started with focus groups. We invited community members to come to the table and participate and talk to us, and we listened. We let them tell us, in their own words, what the challenge was, why it was that they weren't wearing seatbelts. And we had people at the table who openly admitted, I don't wear my seatbelt, or here's when I do wear my seatbelt, and here's when I don't wear my seatbelt. And creating that kind of environment where they could openly speak about the challenges and then share some solutions. They also gave suggestions on media placement, where we should actually put the visuals, what they should say. All of these things came across from the community. And then we took their words and created the campaign and translated it into 5 different languages. So as I said, Brockton's a melting pot. There are a wide variety of languages spoken. And so the message came across in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian, and Cape Verdean, all widely spoken. And then we also placed the messaging where they are. So it was at local festivals. It was at the local sports stadium. We had a huge 74-foot mural painted by a local artist that's right on Main Street, highly visible. So we wanted them to see that we were there and we were listening to them, and then have them see that culturally relevant message come out to them in a way that inspires them to change behavior.
I love that so much. You truly listened to the community and you co-created something special. It wasn't like, oh, you should do this because I said so or
Yeah.
because it's good for you, but really engaging that in a meaningful way. And it sounds like you kind of engaged local leaders and students, families. How did you get them to participate in voicing that? Like you said, people were pretty honest about like, yeah, I don't do that. Maybe I should. Or like, but how did you get them to participate so that you were able to get such a solid campaign out of it?
We invited them to the table. We created opportunities where it was easy for them to come and sit with us. So it wasn't always during, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Oftentimes it was in the evenings, or it was at, their local cultural center or at their schools. As you said, we went into the school systems, right? We participated with the Brockton Public Schools. We had 5,000 students participating in the elementary school, 1,000 seatbelt covers created over the 5-month period. And so we went in, we made sure that the timing was right for them, that the locations were easily accessible for them. And then once we got into those meetings, it was really about showing them that we were hearing what they said and then coming back to the next session with their feedback clearly visible in the campaign. So we would literally, once we got to the point where we were working on creative, we would come in with slogans that maybe would go into the creative, and we'd hold up signs and we'd say, okay, what do you think of this slogan? Does this resonate with you? And they say, oh, well, we like that word, but we don't like that. And then we'd say, well, what about these two together? If we pair this slogan with this call to action, and they got to vocalize, really be part of the creative process to make this campaign effective. And what would their kids respond to? What would their husbands, wives, family members, friends respond to in that community to actually make them wear their seatbelt?
The phrase "protect who you love and buckle up, Brockton" is so heartfelt. It makes you think of your family, makes you think of other people on the road, makes you think of, like, for where I'm sitting, like, makes me think of the truck drivers that are on the road and, like, being a safe driver for other people to make sure that they get home to their loved ones. Why do you think that it's so important to focus on love and pride versus the enforcement and fear? I think that's really the approach that you guys took, which speaks volumes.
From the beginning, I'll be honest, we went in with the premise that we had this belief that positive messaging is more likely to change behavior than enforcement. We really want to speak to people's intrinsic motivations. And I think we've all heard enforcement messaging, and it is effective. And it has worked tremendously to move the needle in many places, but we knew it wasn't working in Brockton for a couple of reasons. In Massachusetts specifically, seatbelt use is a secondary law. So you cannot get pulled over for wearing your seatbelt. You can get a ticket once you're pulled over for a different reason, but you actually can't get pulled over for that. So, and then in the meetings, we'd actually hear from community members talking about when they drove by law enforcement, they would pull the seatbelt over to make it look like they were wearing their seatbelt, but then they would let go, and have it flash back as soon as they drove through or drove past the law enforcement. So for us, that wasn't really about safety. That was about avoiding penalties. And we wanted to speak more to safety and what those messages, what motivation would give them. And time and again in those meetings with community members, we said, okay, what are those situations when you do put on your seatbelt? And they said, when my child asked me from the back seat, when my wife's in the car, when the person I'm with that's driving has put their seatbelt on and asked me to do the same, right? These people that they care about, these people that they love, that they have this sense of protection around. And that's really what formed the message.
And so you have this multilingual outreach. You have this 70-foot mural, more than 1,000 student-made seatbelt covers, which is something I'd love to hear more about. It's clear this campaign was clearly built for that deep local connection. Did it have a really strong impact on that community's pride?
It did. I mean, I'll say Brockton's already a very strong community. They're already very proud. I think the difference is that this program, in collaboration with Massachusetts DOT, came in and gave them the voice, allowed them to come up with the solution and then see that solution in action. The 1,000 seatbelt covers, that came out as a result because some of the feedback we were getting in the community was that the seatbelts are uncomfortable. They didn't want that, the piece of the seatbelt coming in on their neck. So you can actually get covers that go over the seatbelt and make it a little softer. And then we had the kids, because those are, often the influencers for parents, decorate those seatbelt covers and give those to their loved ones to say, Mom, please buckle up. This means a lot to me, right? I want you to be safe. I need you to come home to me. So that pride came out in how the children participated. And then it also came out from, messages we saw on Facebook once the mural went up. It says, thank you for making our city beautiful. Thank you for this art. Thank you for supporting us. And then I think most telling, we had a launch event in the pouring rain. Unfortunately, it was in front of the mural. It was a beautiful week all week. And then the one day that week, it poured rain. And we thought that morning, we were convinced it's going to be a light turnout. And it was not. People came. They wanted to celebrate. They wanted to be part of it. They had built this message, right? They were invested. They had ownership of the message that was coming out. So we had the mayor, city councilmen, law enforcement were there. And then the muralist was there along with her family and her friends, and the local Haitian bakery and the Cape Verdean Association and the local sports teams. I mean, it was a great event that people were standing there with their umbrellas in the pouring rain, because it was so much more than just a media campaign. It was something that the community had come together and created.
It's such a powerful message campaign. The results are speak for themselves, honestly. So could you tell us maybe what's next for Community Voices and the program? Are there other plans to expand programs like this in other cities?
Yes, there are. I'm really happy to say we're just getting started. We're actually working with Massachusetts DOT to expand the platform to 3 new cities, and looking at challenges that aren't just, buckling up, seatbelt use, but also looking at distracted driving, pedestrian safety, speeding. We're also expanding into a few other states and actively looking for partners who are invested in this area, who want to do more to keep our communities safe and to reach those communities who are showing, that the data is showing they don't have the same compliance rates that other locations do, figuring out what's at the root of that and listening to the community to help solve the problem.
That's great. Well, congratulations. We can't wait to see what's next for you all. And can't wait to hear more.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you.